yields back. The chair now recognizes the gentlewoman from Michigan, Ms. Tlaib, for 5 minutes.
Thank you so much, Chairman. And I do want to recognize Chairwoman Maloney. She could have had a hearing on anything, and being her last hearing as the chair, and she made this a priority, and I want to commend her on that. I appreciate it so much. I want to start with start with the truth, because I don't know if it was Mr. Haynes or Mr. Slaw that said this, but it's about starting to live our truths. So I want to start with my truth as a Congress member here. One of the things I realize many of my colleagues ignore is that nearly 20% of all hate crimes are now motivated by LGBTQ plus bigotry in our country. You know, we continue to see reports after reports. The one report that, even hearing in my own community is of teachers being allies, being targeted, even at not only at school board meetings, but just publicly through social media. Displays of different kinds of solidarity targeted, just because they want to make sure that every single child that they're educating is seen and heard and that they feel safe. Students and residents who continue to speak up in my community about, the attempt to so-called make it about books and all of those things, it's happening right in our backyard in my district. It is incredibly important to realize what has happened, the dehumanization that happens after those hearings. Please know that many of my LGBTQ plus neighbors who testified literally are targeted on social media, hate expressed through videos, through Twitter and so much other outlets. And it's so hard because I watched as one by one they testified and how they were literally just shouted at, tried to be silenced. So when I hear the story of what happened at Pulse, it's horrific, just god-awful to watch a friend, a colleague die solely based because of who they are. And Mr. Wolf, I want to thank you so much because it takes so much bravery to come here, because I know what's going to happen when you leave. And that's the part that doesn't get discussed. When you leave, you're going to get literally thrown, of course, some love and support from many folks that see your bravery as inspiring and are grateful for you. But I know what also comes your way when you come and speak the truth here. One of the things that I think Mr. Haynes and Mr. Slaw and Mr. Anderson, I think one of them said, I think it was Mr. Anderson said, living your truth, but I think Mr. Haynes or Slaw said, what are we doing to make LGBTQ community unsafe in this chamber? And it's something that I wish we did more of here. But Mr. Wolf, your experience, awful, awful traumatic experience at Pulse, what does it really truly mean for the LGBTQ plus community in our country and the allies? Because that is something that I want to talk about even more, because it's not only our LGBTQ plus neighbors, but it's the folks that are standing, deciding silence is not an option, to wrap our arms around our LGBTQ plus community that are now continuing to be targeted.
Thank you so much, and thanks for recognizing how hard it is to do this day in and day out. A moment like Pulse changes a community forever, and it doesn't just change the people who were there. It doesn't just change the people who had to bury their children years too soon. It doesn't just change the community that was targeted. It changes the entire community. Central Florida is not the same as it was on June 11th of 2016. Our entire city of Orlando has changed in part because we were forced to make a choice. You see, terrorism is designed to terrorize people. That's the point. It's supposed to scare us back into the closet, to challenge us to stop living authentically. And so our city, our region, faced a choice in the hours after the shooting. And that choice was whether or not we were going to succumb to terrorism and hate, whether we were going to allow one man armed with an assault weapon and hundreds of rounds of ammunition to shatter us, or if we were going to stand more closely together. I was most inspired in the wake of Pulse by watching people from both sides of the political aisle come together to say that we can be better, that we can do more for LGBTQ people in our community. I was inspired by faith leaders standing alongside LGBTQ elected officials and saying, we may not always agree, but we can agree on the fact that people are deserving of dignity and respect. Communities face a choice in that moment. I'm proud of my community for deciding that we would be a different, more inclusive, safer, better community moving forward. And I also think that offers a blueprint for how this country moves forward in the wake of such violence and hate.
I just want all my LGBTQ plus neighbors in my district and throughout the country just to know, because of you, I believe our communities are better and more beautiful. Thank you again for your courageous testimony for many of you, and just know that you will always have an ally in the United States Congress.
The gentlelady yields back.